Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Relationships are pretty much everything. We are social creatures. We crave connection, whether that's through friends, coworkers, and certainly family. We're going to focus on family today, specifically mother-daughter joining us. And they have a podcast. We're going to talk about that, the dynamics between them, and so much more. Joining us today is Ronita Haw-Saunders and Donica Haw-Saunders. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Well. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So I'm intrigued that you both together have a podcast. And we're going to talk about that now and then get into relationships and everything. But what inspired you to start a podcast where you're both doing your thing?
Mother, what inspired us to do this?
A pandemic.
Okay. So you were bored. I got it. All right.
Well, I think we were deciding to talk a little bit more, be more connected. We had sort of our cadence before the pandemic.
Sure.
And we didn't talk every day. We didn't always talk for 1 or 2 hours. Sometimes it was shorter, sometimes it was longer. We would text messages. But during the pandemic, I found myself missing communicating with my daughter in a special way.
And for you, Donica, was it pretty much the same, or were you looking at more of a, hey, let's try something different?
I think it was, let's try something different. I have a little bit of a different lens to it. I am fortunate enough to have a really close relationship with my mother, but as you can imagine, I have a large friend circle that have varied relationships with their mothers. And so we oftentimes talk about all the things that go on in a mother-daughter relationship. And a lot of times my friends lean on my mother for advice and wisdom. And some of like she mentioned, we talk often. And so we thought, since we're oftentimes also getting questions about all types of different things, why not broaden our conversations to a broader audience? So it goes just beyond us. It goes just beyond our immediate network. But we love and have enjoyed being able to broaden the conversation and bring more folks into our various conversations around mother-daughter relationships.
So, Donica, do you have siblings?
No, thank God.
Okay. No, just kind of curious.
I am proudly an only child.
I'm just curious, maybe the dynamics there, and then why are you the chosen one? But now I understand.
Yes, she is definitely the chosen one.
Gotcha. And what about you, Ronita? Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do. I have one brother,
Okay.
a younger brother, much younger brother, as a matter of fact. So we both say that we were raised as only children. I was, and then he was. So, but he had the blessing of having an older sister too. So.
Well, it's interesting. I have a twin sister, and whenever we get into a little bit of deep conversation, she'll say things regarding our mom, and it'll be, "Oh, mom did this and she did that for you." And I look at it and say, "What are you talking about? I don't remember. I don't even know what you mean." She sees it a completely different way. So even though we're twins, 15 minutes apart, I'm older, more wiser. Maybe it's the same as that we were raised separately. I think it might be that way as well.
I think so. I think so. Fortunately, my brother and I have been able to be closer as adults because we didn't really grow up together as children. And so the parents he had a little different than the parents I had.
So, Ronita, when you look back at your younger years and you look at your daughter, do you see parallels, or are you both very much different?
I do see parallels, Steve. Fortunately, my mother was very involved in my life in, I think, a positive way. She was a no-nonsense mother. She was raising me in the 50s and 60s, which were really challenging times, especially for African Americans and African American women. And so her being involved in my life and wanting me to be able to have certain kinds of experiences in terms of relationships with family, understanding heritage, making sure that I was exposed to the world in a certain kind of way was very important to both my parents. I wanted that same kind of experience and opportunity in a different way for our daughter, as did her father.
Donica, what would you like to add to that?
I do find us to be really similar. Some folks call me the young Ronita, which I take as a compliment, but we are quite different as well. Very similar, but I mean, I would say some of the differences probably also have to do with age. I mean, she's wiser. I can be a little bit more spicy. She's more measured. My mother also, she operates, and this isn't just my feedback, others say it as well. She has a high vibration. She has a really, really high emotional intelligence. And, I'm working on it, but I think, I vibrate like a millennial. So.
And I'm on your page. I'm not a millennial, but in terms of the vibration and all of that, I mean, later this week, I have a Reiki session, hypnotherapy, astrological session.
Oh, I love that.
Not even kidding. And it's and later in the week, it's me week. I'm taking time for myself to do those things, so I get the vibration thing. Ronita, do you think it's your energy, you being very grounded, why people gravitate toward you as the mother figure, if you will, asking for advice and things like that?
I find that that's quite a nice compliment. And when people come to me, Donica's friends and other young women, I think the reason is because I've had the blessed life to live a lot, to have gone places and have done things and have tried a lot of different things in my life that was encouraged by my parents. And so when they have a chance to talk to me, I can generally say, well, either when I was your age, or I had a chance to try this, or have you ever thought about maybe looking at it this way? Because when I was doing so and so, and I also shared and share freely, I think it's important to be able to have honest communications and to be able to not only explore why we did certain things at certain ages, but also to be able to share the mistakes that I made. And so, because I think you learn and grow from mistakes. And so I think that's one of the reasons why some of my advice is sometimes listened to, and why folks will seek me out periodically to see what I think about.
So, Ronita, if you turn to your left right now, and there you are, your 23-year-old self, what would you say?
Two things that I always think about. I would have taken more psychology classes when I was in college, because I think that whether you're a manager, whether you are a leader, whether you're a CEO of an organization, whether you're an entrepreneur, it's all about people. You began this conversation talking about relationships. I think understanding relationships, understanding why people do the things they do, as much as one can, it's very important to, I think, gain that kind of understanding. So I would have taken, I think, some classes in psychology. And then the other side of what I often think about is I learned later in life that fear becomes a challenge and an obstacle. And so how do you learn to deal with fear? I was blessed to have a mother that would always say to me, you can do this, you can move forward, you can try it again, get up, dust yourself off and move forward. And yet that hesitancy at different times where I was really, I think, beating up on myself sometimes, I was really giving myself a really hard time about trying something or something not working out. That's a part of life. And so I would really want to say to myself, be a little easier on yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself, and just go out and try it. Most people wish they could have the experiences that you've had the opportunity to have, but it does sometimes come with a risk.
What you say resonates with me. And yes, I took psychology classes for half a semester, maybe. And dropped out. And now I look back and I'm doing podcasts talking about relationships. I should have, and I find it fascinating. And I didn't then because I was focused on one thing, getting on the radio. and which I was already doing when I was taking in college at that time. Donica, for you, you're 23, right in front of you. What would you want your 23-year-old to hear at that time?
Two things. Number one would be that everything's going to be okay. I can sometimes have some high anxiety and I'm highly focused and type A. And so I can put additional pressures on myself. Now I call it giving myself grace. But if I was talking to myself, I would just say, everything's going to be okay. And then secondly, I would tell myself to keep trying new things. As I look back on my life thus far, every 5 years has looked very different. I've grown and built and just created a bigger life for myself than I ever could have imagined 5 years prior. And so, but that is a result of trying new things, pushing past the fear, doing all the hard things, if you will. And so I would just encourage myself to keep going and keep trying new things.
It's funny you say that because it often comes up in surveys, research, polls that we evaluate our lives every 5 years, give or take. And then they call it the 7-year itch because it takes us 2 years to decide what to do, whether that's get out of a relationship, out of a job, make a change, whatever. And I don't want to read into this kind of stuff, but then I look back at my life every 7 years, give or take a little bit here and there was pinnacle stuff going on. I don't know if there's truth to it, but I see it. So I wonder about that. Ronita, different generations, we all are here, right? You look at now, you look at back in the day. What's one great thing about now and one great thing that you remember from the past that you wish was maybe around today?
Well, the one great thing about the past that I really have embraced is the family and the neighborhood connection, knowing your neighbors, knowing the people around you. I felt very safe and very secure playing in my neighborhood, walking in my neighborhood after a period of time. And we all knew each other. I mean, it was a connection. I don't often see that as much because the world is a totally different place now. Safety is designed in such a different way today, and I really believe that that was a plus factor in terms of growing up. And I'm sorry, the second part of your question was,
what about today? Pick one thing that maybe we didn't have in the past, but today you look at it and say, "Oh, that's actually pretty cool."
That's actually pretty cool. Okay. Well, as Donica knows, I've been wrestling with technology and really being able to embrace it in a way that it is so very positive in our world. Because I love the fact that we can communicate today here, and there are people all around the world that can be a part of the conversation and a part of what it is that we are experiencing. So I think I had a broadcast background, and so it used to take us a little while back in the day to be able to get the message out there or to find out what was going on. So today it's instant, and I think that can be a positive. I also think that when we are communicating, we do have the opportunity to be more truthful and authentic. And I would love to be able to see us, those of us who have the stage, to be able to communicate and be more authentic in a way that is beneficial to everybody, to mankind. So
I love this conversation. It's making me, and I'm sure others, think. Here we are talking about connection around the world, an instant. Meanwhile, we don't even know our neighbors. Like, I moved 3 years ago. I know one neighbor kind of well, and somebody just moved in like 2 doors down, and I just met them, young family. Everybody else, I don't even know. but I'm talking to you. And it's funny how that all works.
Yeah, that's my point. And you're not alone. Same way. And I think what we have to do is we have to be more intentional about that. I think we have to really reach out the way that we used to back in the 50s and 60s.
But I think you said the S word, safe. There's a reason we don't as we did then. And I really feel that sometimes we don't feel completely safe. It may not be in the forefront in our consciousness, but there's something there that maybe we don't feel safe about. So then we hold, instead of walking down the street and just say, hey, how you doing? Have a conversation. Nothing wrong with that, but we hold back. Donica, what about you? If you were to look back at things that you know from other generations and now, what's a plus? What's a minus? Or they say what's a delta and a plus, whatever it is.
Well, this probably isn't shocking because I now do a whole podcast with my mother. So it's actually very similar to hers. It's a family connection. So much so that, you know, I spent the past 20 years in Washington, D.C., but then a few years ago moved back to Ohio, my home state, to be closer to family. And so it really is a driving force internally and externally. Now, it comes with some challenges, but it's been a net positive in my life thus far. And so for me, definitely, I miss the family connections, so much so that I moved back across the country.
And what about today? If you would pick something like that is in the now, the present, that's a plus in your mind, what do you think it might be?
So my mother mentioned that she has a background in broadcasting. The work that I do is focused in politics and public affairs, which, as we know, is a whole thing. I think my main wish for today is that folks could see the humanity in each other versus focusing on all of the various differences. We have, in my opinion, so much more in common than we do differently. And so if we could just kind of hone in on what really connects us and what really makes us human, that would be a big plus factor for today.
How do we change that? As you're speaking, I'm thinking about it, whether and authenticity. Renita, you mentioned, I agree with you. You know, it'd be nice if we could be much more authentic. Sometimes we're not. Social media is what we want typically people to see. But what do you think the best way for us to connect? Better connect?
Well, I think first, being willing to be your honest self. I think making sure that the communication is from the heart and from your space, and being comfortable sharing in a way that is meaningful to the other person. Often it's said, you know, this is so much the all about me, all about me. Well, what about we? And how can we benefit from the circumstance, the opportunity? How can we learn from the challenge and be comfortable talking about that challenge that we are learning from? We have to be less judgmental. I also believe in society today. I think that, and that's hard. That is hard. I also see, I love to be able, I love to read. I love to learn. I love to be able to challenge myself and grow in a certain kind of way. I think we have to have more of that as well. New and different experiences that we are willing to share with other people. And then other people have to do the same for us, whether it's locally or regionally, nationally, or internationally. I think that would help what Donica was talking about in terms of the humanity. And I think that's a part of what's missing as well.
I truly believe it's the fear and the safety. We don't even know we're doing it, but it's in our DNA. It's in our nature. It's what's protected us since we began, is we always want to feel safe. And with that, and if we don't feel safe, we're not going to make that connection. But I think sometimes we need to open our eyes just a little bit. We're all the same. I believe when you're born, every baby's the same, maybe different background, parents speak different language, but then life changes, as you interpret things. Donica, tell me about the podcast you both do.
So it's called Raised by Her, and it's bitty conversations just like the ones that we're having right now. So we get the benefit of the wisdom of Ronita Hawes Saunders, and we get hopefully the helpful perspective of myself. And we talk about our relationship. We talk about our experiences. We talk about our experiences from a longevity perspective, from the different things that she did while she was raising me, but also our experiences from the past week. I mean, we all we remain quite busy women. And so it's talking about the wisdom, it's talking about inspiration. And a part of our hope is that our community that we are building isn't just surviving, but finding different ways to thrive. And so our hope is that our conversations help folks do just that.
As you look back to the podcast you've done in the last 4 or 5 years or so, what would you say, and there's probably quite a few, but if you had to pick one topic that you centered on and either you were proud of it or it just was fun, what do you think it would be, Ronita?
Oh, well, we haven't been doing it 4 or 5 years.
Well, I mean, it started, you mentioned
but
during
yeah,
COVID.
well, we started talking about it and
Okay.
exploring the idea. So that was our beginning.
Gotcha.
But what I think I am really proudest of is the fact that for me, at my age, at this particular time, I'm stretching myself in ways that I think are going to be beneficial. I think men and women in their 60s and 70s have to continue to learn and grow and be. And I think that's a part of something that I think is a plus factor. And in terms of our communicating, I think it has to do with exactly what Donica said. You're sharing different perspectives. But what I like is we don't always agree, but we always get to a place that is a learning or growth experience. And so when I think about the topics of, for instance, what was it like during 9/11? Where was I? What did I remember? What was communicated? And then Donica talking about what was going on. She was in high school and the experience there, and just thinking about that perspective and then how it happens to fit in our world today, because we're not having the same experiences in terms of 9/11, but we're in a society that is much more volatile. We're challenges coming up day to day with young people, with children. So that whole safety issue that we're talking about. So just taking a moment and pausing, remembering not only where you were, but how you coped, and then being able to think about how that impacted family, how that impacted my daughter at that particular time, how it impacted her father, my husband at that point, just and then thinking, what do you remember about that? Because that's history. It's going to be there forever, and yet we're a part of it.
Love it. By the way, 63 is the new 43. Trust me. This is year 45 in broadcast for me. I'm just
Okay.
been there, done that. Donica, how about you? Any shows that stand out for you?
So actually this last show that we did, I think it was this week or last week, our show is weekly. So we put out episodes every week, and we got into some really great conversations with some of our listeners around two topics in particular. One, I'm a vegetarian. And so when I travel, and I like to travel globally around the world, lots of cuisines are meat forward, as I say. And so I've gotten some really great suggestions from folks like, oh, you just know where to go. Oh, please don't try to survive off of Sprite and bread. Like, there are other options, like go live. And then we've also gotten some feedback where folks are like, oh, that's where you like to travel? Like, oh, we hate that city. This is why. Why do you like it? And so lots of great discussion around travel and food. And that's a part of what we're enjoying, I think, about the podcast, meeting and talking to people that we otherwise probably would not intersect with.
Isn't it amazing? There can be a discussion and a fun or deeper one, insightful one, and just about everything. We could do a whole podcast or 5 on just travel, things you encounter, just being on a plane, etiquette, all of that.
Yes.
How do we find your podcast again? It's called Raised by Her. Can we just search it out and find it?
Yeah, you can search it out and find it. We have the audio on all places where podcasts can be heard, Apple, Spotify, and then you can also watch the video version on YouTube. And then we also share clips across social media on an ongoing basis. So please follow us at Raised by Her podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the things.
It has been refreshing talking with both of you. I love what you're doing. I love your dynamics as mother and daughter. Fantastic. You know what? Looking forward next time we get together. Maybe we'll pick one of those topics and kind of play around with it. Donica and Ronita, thank you so much for being here today and bringing what you do. I find it fascinating, and just the generational thing is super cool. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.